Good evening, everybody. I'm Tim Mooney of the Timothy Mooney Repertory Theater. I perform a total of 10 one-man plays in repertory, hence the Timothy Mooney Repertory Theater, the longest company name for the smallest company imaginable. I'm offering 6 15-minute showcases through this conference every day at 6:45 and one final live full-length show on Monday night, January 11th at 9 p.m. of my very first one-man play, Moliere Than Thou. Moliere's 399th birthday is coming up next week, and we're already looking at bookings for birthday number 400. This video of Breakneck Hamlet is a mix of live, in-person performance, from back in the day when that was doable, and a recent virtual performance on Zoom. They're very different in style, but the essence of Hamlet still comes through. For what it's worth, in-person performances are $1,295 plus lodging, and virtual performances roughly half that amount, $695, with obviously no lodging costs and many more options in terms of scheduling. I'm watching this video live along with you, so feel free to ask questions on the chat below or check in with me back at my virtual booth after the show. And now, Breakneck Hamlet, Act 2.
Act 2 is mostly about acting and spying. Time has passed. Hamlet seems to have convinced most everyone that he is under the grip of some form of madness. Scene 1, a room in Polonius' house. Polonius sends a spy to France to snoop around and dig up dirt on his son's behavior while away. Ophelia reports a disturbing encounter with Hamlet, who burst in upon her, grasping her by the wrist and staring at her in a kind of a creepy way. Convinced that this is the very ecstasy of love, Polonius drags her off to see the king. Act 2, Scene 2, a room in the castle.
Claudius welcomes two of Hamlet's childhood companions, Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, to Elsinore. Convinced that Hamlet is somehow faking it, he engages them to use their friendship to find out just why Hamlet has been acting so crazy and to report back. The delegation returns from Norway. Success! The Norse king has smacked back his nephew, young Fortinbras, who is now only seeking permission to cross over Denmark. To go pick a fight with Poland instead. Polonius arrives with the explanation to Hamlet's madness. But first, he must engage in an epic display of Polonial long-windedness, finding his way around the answer for as long as humanly possible, before finally presenting a letter that Hamlet has written to Ophelia. My liege and madam, to expostulate what majesty should be, what duty is, why day is day, night is night, and time is time, were nothing but to waste night, day, and time. Therefore, since brevity is the soul of wit, and tediousness the limbs and outward flourishes, I will be brief. Your noble son is mad. Mad, call I it, for to define true madness, what is but to be nothing else but mad. But let that go. Madame, I swear I use no art at all. That he is mad, 'tis true. 'Tis true, 'tis pity, and pity 'tis. 'Tis true. A foolish figure, but farewell it, for I will use no art. Mad? Let us grant him then. And now remains that we find out the cause of this effect. Or rather say the cause of this defect. For this effect, defective, comes by cause. Thus it remains, and the remainder thus. Perpend. I have a daughter. Have, while she is mine, who in her duty and obedience mark, hath given me this. Now, gather and surmise. Doubt thou the stars are fire. Doubt that the sun doth move. Doubt truth to be a liar, but never doubt I Louvre. This was from back in the day when love and move somehow seemed to rhyme. Polonius explains that it was his restriction of Hamlet's access to Ophelia which led him to fall into
wherein he now raves and we all mourn. His solution, more spying. He will use his daughter Ophelia as bait, loosening her to Hamlet while he and Claudius hide behind the tapestries, better known as the arras, to mark the encounter. Hamlet approaches, and we wonder whether he might have overheard Polonius' plans to exploit his daughter. We see him enacting the role of Mad Hamlet for the first time, running rhetorical rings around Polonius. Have you a daughter? Let her not walk in the sun. Conception is a blessing, but not as your daughter may conceive. Friend, look to it. Polonius is startled at just how pregnant sometimes his replies are. Approached by Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, Hamlet grows more suspicious as their enquiries grow more pointed, and after much prodding gets them to acknowledge that they were indeed sent for by the king. I will tell you why. So shall my anticipation prevent your discovery, and your secrecy to the king and queen moult no feather. I have of late, though wherefore I know not, lost all my mirth, forgone all custom of exercises, and indeed it goes so heavily with my disposition that this goodly frame, the earth, seems to me a sterile promontory. This most excellent canopy, the air, look you, this brave o'erhanging firmament, this majestical roof fretted with golden fire, why, it appears no other thing to me than a foul and pestilent congregation of vapors. What a piece of work is a man, how noble in reason, how infinite in faculty, in form and moving, how express and admirable, in action, how like an angel, in apprehension, how like a god. The beauty of the world, the paragon of animals, and yet to me, what is this quintessence of dust? Man delights not me. No, nor woman neither, though by your smiling you seem to say so. Polonius announces the arrival of the best actors in the world, either for tragedy, comedy, history, pastoral, pastoral comical, historical pastoral, tragical historical, tragical comical historical pastoral, scene indivisible or poem unlimited. For the law of writ and liberty, these are the only men. Hamlet welcomes the players, and perhaps testing out an idea, asks the lead actor, I heard thee speak me a speech once, but it was never acted, or if it was, not above once. An excellent play, well digested in the scene, set down with as much modesty as cunning. One speech in it I chiefly loved, 'twas Aeneas' tale to Dido, and thereabout of it especially, where he speaks of Priam's slaughter. If it live in thy memory, prithee say on, come to Hecuba. But if the gods themselves did see her then, when she saw Pyrrhus make malicious sport in mincing with his sword her husband's limbs, the instant burst of clamor that she made, unless things mortal move them not at all, would have made milch the burning eyes of heaven and passion in the gods. As Polonius shows the players to their lodgings, Hamlet draws the lead actor aside. Just out here, me old friend, can you play The Murder of Gonzago? We'll have it tomorrow night. You could, for a need, study a speech of some dozen or 16 lines, which I would set down and insert into, could you not? Very well. Follow that lord, and look you mock him. Not. Oh, what a rogue and peasant slave am I. Is it not monstrous that this player here, but in a fiction, in a dream of passion, could force his soul so to his own conceit, that in her working all his visage wand, tears in his eyes, distraction in his aspect, a broken voice, and his whole function suiting with forms to his conceit, and all for nothing, for Hecuba? What's Hecuba to him, or he to Hecuba, that he should weep for her? What would he do, had he the motive and the cue for passion that I have? He would drown the stage with tears, and cleave the general ear with horrid speech, make mad the guilty, and appall the free, confound the ignorant, and amaze indeed the very faculties of eyes and ears. Yet I, a dull and muddy metal rascal, peak like John a dreams, unpregnant of my cause, and can say nothing. No, not for a king, upon whose property and most dear life a damned defeat was made.
Am I a coward? Who calls me villain? Breaks my pate across, plucks off my beard and blows it in my face, tweaks me by the nose, gives me the lie in the throat as deep as to the lungs. Who does me this, huh? Swoons, I should take it, for it cannot be, but I am pigeon-livered and lack gall to make oppression bitter. Or ere this, I should have fatted all the region kites with this slave's awful, bloody, bawdy, villain, remorseless, treacherous, lecherous, kindless villain. Oh, vengeance! What an ass am I? This is most brave, that I, the son of a dear father murdered, prompted to my revenge by heaven and hell, must, like a whore, unpack my heart with words and fall a-cursing, like a very drab, a scullion, fie upon foe, about my brain. I have heard that guilty creatures, sitting in a play, have by the very cunning of the scene been struck so to the soul that presently they have proclaimed their malefactions. For murder, though it have no tongue, will speak with most miraculous organ. I'll have these players play something like the murder of my father before mine uncle. I'll observe his looks. I'll tend him to the quick. If he but blench, I know my course. The spirit I have seen may be the devil, and the devil hath power to assume a pleasing shape, yea, and perhaps out of my weakness and my melancholy, as he is very potent with such spirits, abuses me to damn me. I'll have grounds more relative than this. The play's the thing, wherein I'll catch the conscience of the king. Act 3 features even more acting and spying. Scene 1, a room in the castle. Happy to hear of any spark of inclination from Hamlet, Claudius readily agrees to attend the play that night. Meanwhile, Polonius sets the scene for Hamlet to encounter Ophelia, reading idly from a book. He and Claudius scurry off to hide behind the arras as Hamlet approaches.
To be, or not to be? That is the question. Whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against a sea of troubles and by opposing end them, to die, to sleep no more, and by a sleep to say we end the heartaches and the thousand natural shocks that flesh is heir to. 'Tis a consummation devoutly to be wished, to die, to sleep perchance, to dream. Aye, there's the rub. For in that sleep of death, what dreams may come when we have shuffled off this mortal coil must give us pause. There's the respect that makes calamity of so long life. For who would bear the whips and scorns of time, the oppressor's wrong, the proud man's conscience?
Thanks for watching, everybody. Breakneck Hamlet runs exactly 1 hour, featuring all the great speeches everyone in your audience wants to see, with obviously snarky narration to guide you through the rest. There's lots more info available back at my virtual booth and at my website, timmooneyRep.com. Tomorrow, Thursday, January 7th, I'm back with Breakneck Julius Caesar, all of Julius Caesar with fun audience participation. Yes, audience participation done virtually. Friday, it's Lot O Shakespeare. One monologue from every Shakespeare play drawn entirely at random. Saturday, the greatest speech of all time. Actual historical speeches from Socrates on down through Martin Luther King. Sunday, Man Cave, a one-man sci-fi climate change tragic comedy. And on Monday, I'm doing a 6:45 preview of Molière Than Thou in advance of a full live performance at 9 p.m. Of course, these are all available for replay after their individual performances. Thanks for joining me. See you back at the booth.